evening. We will call our meeting to order. This is the June 10th, 2021 Madison County Board of Education regular meeting. Welcome to everyone that's here. Let's get started with our vision statement. And Mrs. Coyle, would you read that for us, please?
Yes. Madison County Schools, in partnership with the community, strives to equip educators and students with the skills to lead by example, develop and speak with a unique voice, and explore their academic curiosity to make a positive impact in our community and world.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And Mrs. Jeannie, do we have any audience comments? Okay, no audience comment. All right, so let's move on to our consent agenda. And in our consent agenda, we need to approve the June 3rd special meeting minutes, the claims, acknowledgement of the superintendent's personnel actions, and acknowledgement of our leaves of absence. Are there any questions? No questions? All right. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, next on our agenda is our monthly report, and we will start with our instruction report. And I think we have with us Carly Cornelius, Christina Tipton, and Mr. Mike Reister.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Carly Cornelius, the Director of School Psych Services for Madison County Schools. And I'm going to be talking with you tonight about trauma. So I think we have a presentation. Is that? What'd you say?
We don't.
Okay, we do, but we don't. All right. Well, that's okay. So tonight, one of the things I want to talk about is trauma in our students. But before I talk a little bit about that,
Thank you.
recent legislation has indicated a need for trauma strategies in our schools. So specifically tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But to give you just a little bit of background about trauma, trauma results from exposure to a single event or repeated events that are emotionally upsetting or life-threatening, and it has long-term effects on a child's mental, physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. Some examples of trauma that our students might experience could be physical, sexual, emotional abuse, childhood neglect, living with a family member with mental health or substance use disorders, sudden or unexplained separation from a loved one, poverty, exposure to racism, discrimination, or oppression, and things like violence in the community, war, or terrorism. So although trauma can occur at any age, it has particularly debilitating long-term effects on children's developing brains. So it's really critical that we begin intervening very early in their development. And just to give you a little bit of background about Kentucky, specifically, Kentucky students from 2017 through 2019, data indicates that about 26% of Kentucky students ages 0 through 17 have experienced 2 or more traumatic events in their lifetime. And this is 5% higher than the national average. And also, our Kentucky children also have higher rates compared to the national percentages for living with someone who has a substance abuse disorder or having a parent who has spent time in jail. So our kids definitely have exposure to trauma. And one of the main reasons that I'm here is with that increasing awareness of the impact in trauma, the Safe Schools and Resiliency Act was passed, sometimes referred to as Senate Bill 1. And specifically, it addresses a variety of aspects of school safety and student resiliency, including the need to implement trauma-informed approaches in schools. So with that in mind, Senate Bill 1 indicated specifically that districts need to have 5 specific strategies in place in order to support our students. So we need to increase trauma awareness in the school community for students and adults. We need to assess the school climate for trauma, examine discipline policies with a trauma lens to ensure that our discipline practices don't traumatize students again if they have a history of trauma in their background. We also want to collaborate with law enforcement so schools are notified when a student has experienced trauma outside of school hours. And then finally, we need to have services and programs that aim to reduce the negative impacts of trauma. We want to support critical learning about trauma and also foster positive, safe school environments for all of our students. So I'm going to turn it over to Christina Tipton now, and she's going to talk about specifically how Madison County is going to put those 5 particular areas in place.
Hello, I'm Christina Tipton. I serve as a counselor here in Madison County. You guys, I think, have a copy of the trauma plan that we have kind of put forth there, but I want to specifically talk to you guys about each component that Carly just mentioned. There are 5 components that we are expected to take some kind of action on during this school year, and so that's what our plan kind of lays out. The first thing is enhancing trauma awareness, and that's really, I think, the biggest piece of this. Because before you can become a trauma-aware school, you have to make sure your staff is trauma-aware. So that's the biggest piece. We're going to make sure that our staff is trained, they understand the impact of trauma on brain development, and they understand how students who have experienced trauma, that impacts behavior and it impacts learning, and also to help staff be able to recognize that and know the proper channels to guide that student through to be able to get them some supports so that they are able to learn and have a better social experience while they're at school. So one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to collaborate with EKU's Trauma and Suicide Prevention Specialty Clinic. We're very lucky to have them right here in our back door, and they're able to provide this training for us. Carly and I met with them last week, and we talked about some things that we would like to see included in this training. What do we think is important for our staff to know, and what are some things we can put in their toolboxes that we can incorporate into our everyday practices at school that just provide supports for these students, kind of give them a sense of psychological safety while they're at school, and then it helps their brains be more ready to learn while they are with us. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to have some training videos. As we get new hires, it's always hard to kind of keep up with that. You get new hires coming in, we've already had the training, so we're going to upload some training videos onto Frontline so that our staff are able to access those in the event that they miss the initial training. And the other thing is we're going to train our students in a developmentally appropriate way on trauma and how that may impact the brain. It may impact their behavior. It may impact their ability to focus. And we're going to provide some tools for them and some coping skills so that they're able to kind of use those things to be more successful while they're at school. And the great thing is while these are great for trauma-exposed students, these are also great strategies for every student in our building. So we feel like everybody's going to benefit, but those trauma-exposed students are going to really benefit from things that we're just going to do a little bit differently. So that's the first thing. The next component is a school climate assessment. So we do have to do a school climate assessment, but we have kind of taken part in some webinars over the last couple of weeks, and they really encouraged us to look at what we have in place right now, rather than to start putting new assessments out there and new things in place when we could already be collecting that data currently. So that's what we did. We kind of looked at what data are we collecting right now from our students and staff, and how can we use that to kind of help with this assessment. The first thing we thought about were our family resource and youth service center surveys that our youth service centers do every year, and we feel like they really have a pulse on what's going on in their schools. They kind of know what our students and families need, so that's a great place to start. So that's one we're going to use for data. Secondly, we have already implemented the Kentucky Academic and Behavioral Response to Intervention Screening Assessment. That's a mouthful. We've already implemented that one time previously, but we feel like if we implement that each year and we kind of look at our universal strategies that we have in place, and that's really what that looks like. What are we doing school-wide to address the needs of all of our students? And we're just going to kind of look at that compared to previous times and just see where we are and where we're going. The next thing is the quality of school climate and safety that students take each year. And then the last thing is the teaching, empowering, leading, learning, the TEL survey that teachers take each year. So all of that data is going to help us with our school climate assessment. The next thing is trauma-informed discipline policies, and the great news is we are going to be implementing trauma-informed practices into our current MTSS systems that we already have in place. So our multi-tiered systems of supports that our schools have already started implementation of, we're just going to kind of put all this stuff in there with it, and it makes it easier to implement if you have that framework already in place. So what we're going to do is our schools all have MTSS teams already. They're already looking at their discipline policies. They're already looking at their behavior matrices. They're already looking at what's classroom managed, what's office managed. And so now, after they've had training on trauma, they'll be able to look at those policies with a trauma lens and be able to go back as a team level, as a school level team, and look at those policies. We also have positive behavior interventions and supports, which celebrates the good things that our students are doing, the positive behaviors and the positive things. We're going to celebrate and encourage those all along. And then we're going to continue our SEL programming to help with emotional vocabulary and again, teaching students that brain stress response. And as always, safe crisis management and de-escalation training for designated staff. The next component is law enforcement collaboration, and we've already been using this quite a bit across the district with our Handle with Care initiative. That is simply when schools are notified when a law enforcement officer has been out at the home of one of our students, and one of our students could have potentially been there. So we're just kind of notified. We use that information to keep an extra eye on that student while they're at school with us that day. If there's extra and additional supports needed, we make sure that those students get that. And then lastly, our services and programs. So we are going to utilize MTSS as our framework for putting all of this stuff together, our SEL programming, our PBIS, our trauma-informed practices. We already have SEL programming going on in our schools. Elementary schools use Sanford Harmony. Second Step is used by kindergarten and middle school. And then we have our Lifeline suicide prevention programs in grades 6 through 12. All schools will combine their trauma team with their existing MTSS teams as well. That will happen at the district level too. Our MTSS and trauma teams will combine at this point. We will review our crisis response practices just to make sure that they are trauma informed. And then lastly, we will identify students in need of additional interventions past that universal level of interventions. So that is our plan in a nutshell.
I have a
Thank
quick
you.
question. I was just wondering on the training that you guys are doing, is that just to classified staff, or is that targeted to both your teachers, your paras, your bus drivers? Is everybody going to get something for that, or is it
So
just
the big
primarily-
goal is that everybody gets trained at some level in trauma-informed care, because, you know, if you're driving a bus home or you're in the cafeteria, a lot of times those are situations where students can be triggered with trauma responses, and it helps to know what you're seeing. It helps you kind of understand what's going on with those students. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, great. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Seems like a very comprehensive plan. You guys have put a lot of work together. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. All right, okay, let's see. So next on our agenda, we need to set a special meeting date. So we need to set a special meeting for Friday, June the 18th at 9 a.m. So we can consider the construction proposals for the Clarkmore Middle School project. So do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, thank you all. And then next we need to cancel our June 24th meeting. So do I have a motion to cancel the June 24th, 2021 meeting?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And moving right along, we need to change an SSP position to a teaching position, a student support specialist position. Dr. Gillum?
Sure. Yeah, student support specialist, that's our position. That's a rank 4 teaching position. And when we have people in those roles, sometimes those roles are a little bit limited in what they can do. Instruction actually has to be designed by unless we have emergency certification, has to be designed by a rank 1, 2, or 3 teacher. And so by changing this, it will increase the pay just a little bit because it puts them on the other pieces of that scale, but it also allows us to expand our services that we're providing to those students. And this is in our English language learner program. And so these are the folks that work with our students who English is a second language for them.
Great. So we're basically looking at a name change and expansion of duties.
Mhm.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions? No? All right. So I need a motion to change the student support specialist position to an English language learner teacher position.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then next, we need to change the name of a technology programmer position.
Sure, and I will talk about this for just a second. I mean, it's just simply a name change, really no change in duties. For years, we've had this position, we've had individuals in this position, but they've been doing a lot of technical work. Programming just wasn't part of it. And so with that, it's just simply a name change. Really no change in duties of what that individual's doing, no change in pay or anything. It's just better to align when you talk about programming, you think of somebody who actually sits down and programs, and these positions are not the positions that are doing that in our district.
Just a title to more accurately reflect what they do.
Correct. Mhm.
All right. So do we have a motion to change the name of our technology programmer position to a technology specialist?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And next, this is also Dr. Gillum, to create and ratify a technology specialist position.
Yeah, so with that position, we have a couple of those on the books right now. We'd like to add an additional one simply because of the increase in technology that we have seen, that we continue to see. We see Chromebook purchases just about every board meeting. You all see purchases of Chromebooks. And as those devices expand, then there's a greater need for people in our district to do that. And KDE actually has a formula for number of devices to number of staff, and this would keep us in line with that. So, and it's actually amazing to see what is truly a small tech staff be able to address all of the issues that we have across the district. So we appreciate their work.
Absolutely. All right, you have any questions? All right, so I need a motion to create and ratify one technology specialist position.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. And next up is to create and ratify a teacher position at Ferristown.
Yes, this is at the request of the Ferristown Site-Based Council. It's, they're using their Title I dollars. No impact on general fund.
All right. Keeping in line with enrollment.
Mhm.
All right, any questions? All right, let's need a motion to create and ratify a teaching position at Ferristown Middle School.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford and a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. And next up, we have our student accident insurance. We have the Roberts here to talk about that, please.
Hello, good to see everybody again. My name is John Roberts. We provide your all student accident insurance. In fact, we work with districts across the state doing student accident insurance. I was driving home from Christian County last Thursday night, and I was like, gosh, cannot wait to get to Madison County on Thursday. Much easier drive home. But looking through your all's claims data, we average about 140 claims per year. If I compare that to other districts your all's size, that's right in line. 35% of your claims are football, and actually 20% of your claims are non-athletic related. Recess, PE, had several kids that'll fall down steps, rotating classes. It's things that happen like that, which is why you have student accident insurance. And again, we provide coverage for all school-sponsored and school-supervised activities. student accident is a unique area. David and his team does such a great job of doing loss control on your workers' comp and your general liability and your property, but student accident, it's hard to loss control an ACL tear. Sprains, broken ankles, things like that. It's hard to loss control that. So what we do is we identify your key providers, who your kids are going to the most, which that's UK, Baptist Health, Bluegrass Orthopedics. Once we identify those carriers, we network, we negotiate with those providers to make sure that if a Madison County student gets injured, they are getting the best prices available on the market. And looking at the data, we actually, through our savings network, we've saved you all about $700,000 per year. So that's $700,000 that would be dumped into your loss data that we've been able to negotiate and saves you all money every year. And that's through K&K Insurance, and that's who we use. Of the 150 school districts we insure, I think K&K has 142 of them. But one thing to be aware of, and this is something that if you watch SEC football or NBA basketball, there's been more claims this year. And Dad and I and Joe, we were talking about it early in the fall. We've seen more soft tissue claims this year than what Dad has ever seen in all the years of doing student accident insurance. And so what the evidence is showing is just athletes are such creatures of habit. They're used to practicing, knowing when the season's going to start, not having breaks in seasons. So this year, that the breaks and getting back into it, it's disrupted the claims. So when I look at your all's data, you all have had 78 claims this year. And normally, we would see soft tissue claims half the time. But of the 78 claims that we've had this year, 72 of them are soft tissue claims. MCLs, ACLs, sprains, tendonitis. It's just what we're seeing in the marketplace this year. So just something to be aware of, but we're taking care of those kids, but it's just something, another factor, something else that COVID's caused a problem with. But every year as your all's broker for your student accident insurance, we take your loss data, the number of students, and submit it to our carriers. So this year we submitted it to 3 different companies. So we have quotes from Axis Insurance, which was $323,092. We also have a quote from Zurich Insurance, which is $298,046. And then we also have a quote from Hartford Insurance, which is flat, $235,046.40. So that's the same coverage, the same limits, the same benefits as what you had last year, and the price will remain the same again next year.
So that price is the same as what we are now?
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's going to be the same next year, too.
We'll do the best we can. I mean, from where we do work with so many schools, we do have access to a lot of different carriers. I know on the property liability work comp side, there's not as many options, but student accident, there's other markets. So we make sure that we go to everybody. And so we'll do it again next year. If there's something better, we'll bring it to you.
Surprisingly, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've gotten phone calls on K&K Insurance. Just people complaining that they can't get through to them, or that they're not getting their money back in time, like they're waiting on the check to come back. So
If that's a problem, everybody in this room, I hope, has my cell phone number. If there's ever a problem, have them call me.
Okay.
Have them call my office. There's people that just do student accident insurance. Like,
Okay,
that shouldn't be a
that's what I'll
hiccup.
do.
But if a lot of the hospitals are understaffed, and some of the billing is slower, and so
Yeah.
we're not getting the paperwork as quick as we used to. So there has been a little bit of slowdown from all the carriers. Still, it shouldn't happen. Let me know, send them to
Okay.
us, let us take care of it. And I apologize to the people that you've gotten calls from, but we'll take care of it.
Okay, I will send them your way then.
Please do.
I send them to the athletic director.
Send them to us. They'll call us, but yeah, we'll take care of it. But thank you for letting me know.
No, I got the number and told them if they wanted me to call, that I would, but that they would, if they're not getting through, chances are I probably can't get through
Let us
either,
do
and
that for you.
I don't know all their details, so.
It usually is a paperwork thing, But even still, like, if there's a paperwork thing, we can call the hospital and work with the
Yeah.
parents and coordinate that to get the bills paid.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, it's just weird. I never got any calls, and all of a sudden, in the last 4 or 5 months, I got 2. I was like, okay, that's weird.
There's,
What's a normal turnaround time for a person that turns in an accident report?
so once we have all the paperwork, the turnaround time is within 2 or 3 days. It's just getting the paperwork. I mean, there is, because it's secondary, unless there's no parental insurance, so then we'll step up and become primary. So because we're secondary, we have to let the primary insurance pay first. But once we receive all the paperwork, it's usually 2 to 3 days when the family gets a check. So and even still, if there's a paperwork, and not all parents understand an EOB and what all they need to provide for. That's what we're here for. So just direct them to our office and we'll take care of them.
Anybody else? All right, so I need a motion to approve the purchase of the student accident insurance with Roberts Insurance as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right,
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the purchase of our liability, property, comp, and fleet and pollution insurance with Mr. David Livingston.
Good evening. I always tell John, stay up here, because we work this together, but he always kind of slides off to the back. He gives you all a great presentation, and then he's gone. So we sent over the documentation to be presented to the board, and hopefully, I'm sure as always, you all have seen that. As it's been for the last 10 years, 11 years, basically we have 3 markets in the state of Kentucky: Liberty Mutual, EMC, and WSI. Liberty writes about 90, well, actually was with the Liberty representative today, and he was saying they write 90% of the school districts in the state currently, and KEME is about the same match. We've had a couple new carriers come in, but we kind of advised our schools to wait and see what's going to happen with those carriers, because we've seen them come in before. There was one called FFVA, it was Florida Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association. They came in really cheap, and in 3 years they were gone. And so KEME and Liberty have both been here and been very stable and provide good service, great coverage, and moving forward. What we've seen as the average rate increase in the state of Kentucky has been anywhere from 9 to 15%. You guys are at about 13.5%. You have some exposure changes on the property, but besides that, not a lot of other exposure changes. There is one thing that I pointed out in my email, and I'm not sure if you received my email. KDE has not released their property square foot rate at this point in time. And with KDE, the way that the Red Book reads, or the insurance guidelines read, is you have to use the property square footage rate, or you have to have an appraisal. Well, we have Madison County on an appraisal value, which is almost always less than the property square foot rate. But what we do is, if the property square footage rate goes up 2%, we bump your appraisal up 2%. So we're still waiting on that, and that's probably not going to be endorsed until after the renewal comes out. I don't know why it's KDE usually is supposed to release that in February. It shouldn't be extremely difficult to figure out, but I know that over the years they've been letting staff go and retiring, and they just run on a skeleton crew down there nowadays. And it's a lot of people with a lot of different hats on. On your work comp, your mod has gone from a 1.17 to a 1.06. And after July 1, we will recalculate your experience mod projected for July 1 of next year, and kind of give you an idea of where that goes. On that gives you a 6.5% decrease on your work comp premium for that. Cyber liability, that, if you all recall, we did not put that into place until July. I believe it was July or August, late July, early August. So we've got that out to market. The cyber market, I'll go on ahead and share with you, and I'm sure Ms. Cobb has seen this. The cyber market is volatile. I was talking with our cyber contact that we use for all of our schools, and he said that in the last 3 days, there have been 4 markets that are non-renewing everything. They're getting out of the business entirely. He re-quoted one with another carrier, and it went up 391%. Luckily, the markets that we're using are not going through that volatility right now. I can't say what we'll see, but I can tell you we will probably see an increase. And as soon as that comes in, we'll discuss that, see if we need to go to market based on how the pricing comes out, and determine that, and then bring that to you for your board meeting coming up. Some of the things that Liberty has conveyed in the last few days, if we've met with them coming out of COVID and going back to full-time classroom, where their concerns are, is like I spoke about last year, sexual molestation and abuse. What they've seen countrywide is that the incident rate has not slowed down. It's continued because now it's just moved online. They have a big concern about bullying. They saw a lot of claims for bullying when they were online, because you had children that would show up online for their Google Classroom or Zoom Classroom, and they would be in their pajamas. They may not live in as nice as a house as someone else that's on there, and then they would start chattering back and forth and picking on kids. Cincinnati Public Schools just settled one. They're self-insured. They settled for $3 million. And that happened earlier this week, the settlement did. So it is a real thing, and that's something to keep up with. The other issue are IEPs. Your staff, everyone across the state has done a great job adjusting from in-class learning to rewriting IEPs and being able to take them online and be able to help the children through that. And the failure to educate claims have increased, but what they wanted for us to talk to our schools about is to make sure that when you're coming from the virtual environment and you're going back to the classrooms, that your IEPs are correct. They're written correctly, so you don't see the failure to educate claims coming in, because that's the next thing that they're expecting to happen if schools are not prepared when that comes back in September. So that's pretty much what I have. Does anyone have any questions?
I got a couple questions. So
Yes,
you
sir.
said the range of premiums that people went up 9 to 15%.
Yes, sir.
You said we were at 13.5.
Correct.
So why did we go up so much?
Well, I think part of it is you've got an exposure increase in your total insured value, which affects that. Claims factor into it a little bit, but you're such a large district. What we're seeing is some of the larger districts are seeing a little bit more of an increase just because the increased exposure that you have.
You said you got 3 different companies that you work with. Did you quote it with any of the other companies?
No, sir. We, at this point in time, we did not take it out this year. I spoke with central office and they said, let's do it next year. So that was the intent to do that.
David, what is the 30 million increase for on the?
Ms. Cobb, I'll have to check on that and let you know, because I don't know. I didn't have that in my notes.
And what was, can you remind me again, what was the work comp mod?
1.06.
And what was it before?
1.17. And in 1920, it was 1.22. One quick, a little bit of information for KEME. Their school board classification rates since 2013 have gone down by 24%. This was part of what we sent over, have gone down by 24%. They helped distribute the Kisbet program and close out all those claims. And the distributions from the Kisbet program that KEME ran off the claims was $358,000, almost $359,000. And then you all are getting very close to being able to participate in their dividend program. You have to have a 1 mod and a 65% or less loss ratio. So when that happens, like they just declared a dividend for, I believe, 2017. So schools that met that year, a 1 mod and a 65% or less loss ratio, were actually given dividend checks back. So you all don't classify for it quite yet for that particular year that they did, but you're getting to where in the future that you will classify for it.
What other questions do we have? Well, thank goodness the comp went down.
Yes, ma'am.
Helped knock off the huge increase.
And our intention now that you all are going back in person, full staff and everything, we've sent an email out to the administration about in-house training, coming in, training bus drivers, custodial and maintenance, teachers, and just discussing loss control, risk management, and beginning to do facility reviews again to do walkthroughs and write-ups. And when I say write-ups, I don't mean write-ups in a bad way. I mean talking about how facilities look and where some changes might need to be made as far as wet floor signs, entrances, chemicals in classrooms, things like that.
And remind me again, David, what was the experience with Liberty?
I'm sorry?
The loss experience?
I don't have that on me. I'll send that to Dr. Gilliman, and he can get that to you. I'll pull that tonight when I get home.
I'm just wondering. Okay, anybody else have any other questions?
I don't really have a question. I got a comment, though, that this is such a large increase when we've not really been in school necessarily, but I think if something goes up this much, I think we should always get other quotes instead of just doing the one quote. I think it's bad business to just have one quote from a company. You know, if you got three, you should quote all three.
Yeah, well, can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay, WSI, and I've said this to them personally, I don't think they're a viable market. They have changed their coverage levels tremendously. They are on about their fourth reinsurance carrier in probably 6 years. And honestly, they just got their contract signed maybe in January. We don't even have a full policy of what's going out yet. We only have one district with them currently, and I don't think they write many across the state at this point in time. EMC is a great company, and they're newer to the market, and they are being extremely selective on especially size, because we sent some to them, and the larger districts they're not as comfortable with, because they're used to writing much smaller districts than, say, you guys or Scott County or Boone County or even Laurel County. We did send Laurel County to them, and they declined Laurel County. So it's a terrible mess to be in that we've been in for, I mean, gosh, this was even this way before Kisbet went away. There's never been a lot of players in the marketplace with property and liability. And in the last 10 years, it's only been until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think EMC came into the market. Before that, it was only WSI and Liberty Mutual.
I understand, but,
Yes, sir.
you know, as, from my perspective, I'd like to see their numbers compared. You know, even me at home, I requote my home and auto every year. You never know when something may come, and just like, you know, the Roberts, they give us three quotes, you know, we can look at, and we know that we are getting the best deal.
Right.
And, you know, for me, that's something big for me personally.
Yes, sir.
To know that we're doing the best that we can.
Right.
And actually see it, rather than just taking somebody's word for it. You know what
Right.
I mean?
And I'm an elected official as well, so I
Yeah.
totally get it when you're dealing with taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
Completely get it.
Anybody else? All right, so let's have a motion to approve the purchase of the insurance package with Roding Insurance for liability, property, comp, fleet, umbrella, and pollution as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A motion by Mrs. Coyle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, David. All right, and so next on our agenda is to acknowledge the continuation of our purchasing contracts.
Okay.
Do you have-
Yes, each year we do we put out RFPs for local businesses and others in the area to be able to bid on a variety of services and products, and we keep those listed. You have the list there. This is just, when we do those, we do them for 5 years, so this is just acknowledging that they exist, so.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right, so I just need a motion to approve the continuation of our purchasing contracts as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. And next is Dr. Gillum as well, furniture purchase for Central.
Yes, this is for 8 classrooms of furniture at Madison Central. You know, over time, that furniture wears out, we need to replace some, so.
All right, pretty straightforward. Anybody have any questions? All right, so I need a motion to approve the furniture purchase for Madison Central as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Coyle. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And then next we have to approve the DNF and award the contract of our cafeteria equipment.
Yes, this is for cafeteria equipment, and we went in with Campbell County. They were expecting a large purchase as well, so we went in together with them to bid this equipment for our kitchens and got the award back. We had, I think, 4 different companies that put a bid in, and you've got the list there. The company that was C&T Design was the winning bidder on that. We recommend that we make that purchase. It is a very large purchase. Our portion of it is just over $1 million there, but that is will be coming out of our food service dollars, and, which are restricted simply to food service purchases. So.
Okay. And we went in with Campbell County to get a volume discount to help get a better
That's
price.
correct, yes. Rather than bidding alone, we have the option of taking straight off the bid list, but we were able to go out and do our own request for proposals and get a better price than that. And by going in with Campbell County, we were able to get an even better deal because of the volume. Volume pretty much doubled, right, Mr. Anderson? So.
All right, have any other questions? All right, so I need a motion to approve the determination and findings and to award the contract for our food service equipment to C&T Design, with Madison County portion being $1,190 and $1,190.19. $1,190,019.
There you go.
Third time's a charm.
So moved.
That's my math background. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Sorry about that. All right, next we have Mr. Shane Lace on our bus purchases.
Good evening. I'm here, I always come to the June meeting to usually order 10 buses. This year, I'm asking for approval to order 6. If you remember, back in December, we ordered 4 of our 84 passenger buses, our bigger buses, due to a settlement from Volkswagen. And that basically what it meant was we ordered then and we get rid of 4 buses that we had that were 2001 models or earlier. We had 4 2001 models. And so we drove them the rest of the year. We finished up with those, and they are currently in the process of being taken out of service. The 4 buses we ordered in December have arrived Monday, and so we have them ready. They will be ready to go in August to be put on the road, and we saved approximately $250,000 from that. So those 4 buses account for part of the 10 that we normally order in the June meeting. So tonight I'm asking for the approval of 6. 4 of those buses are 72 passenger buses, conventional buses, and they are $92,786 each. We also would like to order 2 special needs buses, and these buses are all Thomas buses, by the way. They are $109,918. So this total of the 6 buses are $590,980 for the 6 buses. Special needs buses are a little more expensive than the regular conventional buses for a couple reasons. One, they have a lift in case we have a student that requires a wheelchair. They can put on the lift and go up and down when they return. And air conditioning. We always get air conditioning on our special needs buses due to IEP and such. And all of our buses, we put tinted windows on them now, which has really helped us in the past. So I'm asking for the approval of 6 buses for a total of $590,980. Any
Mr.
questions?
Lakes, do any of these have cameras on them, or do we put those on
We
ourselves?
put them on there. Every bus we have a few sub buses that do not have camera systems on them, but all of our route buses do, and each time we order, some of those sub buses kind of get bumped off the other end, so we're getting fewer and fewer that don't, but we are installing cameras on these. Now, the good news about the 4 buses we just got Monday, we had some extra cameras and some buses that went out of service due to just issues that happened with them, that we were able to pull the cameras off those and put them on. We're going to put them on the new buses, and we won't have to order any cameras for these 4, because we already have them.
What kind of camera system do you have in your, now it's so easy to have it so you can see it on your phone, so do you have something where you can see it on the computer?
On the computer, yes. We order REI. There's 2 or 3 companies. REI is the one that I found to be the best. They're the easiest to view. We have some buses that have Say On, and I don't want to talk negatively about any companies, but the REI seems to, in the morning where it's dark, we can see the video better. It comes in very clearly, and you can see the night vision part of it works very well. And basically, when something happens, I can pull the video and I put it on my computer and I can watch it and share with principals if need be, or whatever we have to do. I'm able to do that on my computer.
So is it stored permanently or for a long period of time?
We can save clips if we need to keep something permanently, and if not, if it's something, we might be looking for something non-discipline wise or something, and we see it, we can put it back on the bus. So the bus, these new ones we're getting, the cameras, they'll record for a month or over, and it rolls each day when the buses turn on. The camera rolls, it videos the routes, and then if we don't have any calls or anything, it just continues to roll. So eventually it'll recycle itself. But whenever something happens, we'll replace it with one, take the one we need, and we'll clip what we need to clip and keep for purposes. If something comes back later, we have to look at it. We've got it.
Yeah.
Speaking
So-
of, sorry, go ahead.
So you do keep them for about a month now? I mean, it used to be like a week back when my
The
kids was.
newer systems will record for about a month.
And so you're
Depending
indicating
on
the
the length
newer
of the route.
systems, so we have some older systems.
That was
Yes.
my question.
Yes.
How often do we update these?
Well, we order the camera systems each year. They develop new things.
Right.
And so now we are on a hard drive system, which is a big box, which is a little bit more cumbersome to operate, but they store more data. So those last a little longer. We have the chips, the little, like goes in the camera. We've got those that are the previous, they're the ones that are a little older than that. They don't last as long. They'll go a little over a week, but the new ones we're getting do last for a month. Now, the ones we're going to put on these new buses are the chips, but if we haven't heard about something within a week, then we're usually okay. So the month is nice to have, but they both are very high quality. So
The cameras, they're inside. Do we have any that have cameras on the outside of the buses?
we don't currently. We have them on the inside. We have 3 cameras We have 3 cameras on our buses. We have one that is in the front that points backwards. We have one in the back that points forward, and we have one above the door that points toward the driver. And so we always can see what the driver's doing and whatnot. But yeah, we don't have any on the outside at this point.
We don't have any like telematic devices on any of our buses either, do we? Like gauge driving and things like that?
No.
And what about the Volkswagen settlement? Are we done and over with that? Have we
We are
gotten all of
currently-
our money out of that? or
We
is
are
there money
currently,
left?
2 buses have been sent to be taken out of commission. And then when those 2 get finished, we're going to send the other 2. We will have proof that they are out of commission, and then I fill out the paperwork to send to the VW settlement people, and then we will get reimbursed.
Okay.
So it's not happened yet, but it's in the process.
And then when we get that, we're done?
Yes, unless they come up with something in the future, with a different year. But 2001 we had 4 buses that had qualified, so really come in handy.
Yeah.
And 2 of those buses, incidentally, were still on a route. So one driver really liked his 2001. It drives great. It ran right up to the last day. But it was an offer we couldn't pass up, and he understood that. But he loved this. He's been offered a new bus, and he refuses. He refused it because he really liked the one he was driving.
He's
so,
used to it.
Yes.
All right.
Is there an expiration time for that to be turned in? Or is it just when the bus goes down
You mean to
to file the claim or to get the 4 buses rotated out?
No, this was just something that VW offered that come about last year. And for an emissions, those buses were putting out emissions that we didn't want in the air. And so any bus from 2001 or earlier would qualify for that. Well, we had 4 in our fleet still that we're still using that were 2001. So that was the only ones that we were able to get rid of, and we did. Our next
You have turned them all in?
The 4 we had, yes.
Okay.
Our next oldest bus we use right now, I think, is about a 2006. So, but there's no other settlement going on right now.
Yeah, okay. I thought you had said you had 2 still
We have,
to turn in, but okay.
we've sent 2 to be disabled, and when those get disabled, we're sending the other 2, which will be Monday when they go.
Mr. Lakes, on a different note, still talking about transportation and training our bus drivers. I know a couple months ago, we voted to approve to paying them as they train now. Are we up to par with the number of bus drivers that we have, or do we still need more?
Thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome.
It's been a game changer. We have currently, we're not up to par, but we're on our way. We have had 3 that have passed their test this week, and one's already driving summer school. 2 are going to start next week. We've had 3. We've got about 12 to 15 in class right now, and we have a couple that are, they're in different stages, but we have a few inquiring about starting class. So it has been a game changer. We are still behind. We had 17 open positions at our highest point. And so we're trying to close that gap. I'd like to be at the start of school where we have all of our positions filled. It's looking better. It's looking better, but we still need drivers. This is, I know this has shown places, we still need drivers to come in, call us. We will get you started. So it's gotten better.
Good.
So.
That's good to hear.
And I do appreciate the approval of that.
Some counties are running TV commercials, I've seen.
It's everywhere. And, just like you go out anywhere and you see on Help Wanted, we've been in that situation, and it's just increased. So.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Mr. Lakes? No? Okay. All right, so I need a motion to approve the purchase of 4 Thomas 72-passenger buses and 2 Thomas 66-passenger buses for a total of $590,980 for these 6 buses.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock and a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Lakes.
Thank you.
All right, so moving right along, we have to approve the contract for therapy services.
Okay, this is our contract we've had for several years with, particularly with hands-on therapy. This is for therapy services, OT, PT, and speech and language. And it just simply, think of this as kind of like same way we have substitute teachers. Well, we don't have substitute therapists, but we do have a contract for them to come in and provide whenever we need additional hands.
And we do this every year.
We do this every year, yes. Mhm.
Pretty self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right. So I need a motion to approve the contract for therapy services with hands-on therapy.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. And next on the agenda is the approved orientation and mobility services.
Okay, yes. Orientation and mobility services are the services that we're required to provide to students with IEPs for visual impairment. It's basically orientation, learning how to walk around, navigate cities and buildings and so forth when you have a visual impairment. And with this, we don't have a trained person on staff because it's not a full-time position necessarily, because we don't have that many students, but we have an individual that comes in and provides those services to us at a contracted rate, and that's what we have here.
And again, we do this every year, don't we?
Every year, yes. Mhm.
All right, do we have any questions? No? All right, so I need a motion to approve the agreement for orientation and mobility services for our students with visual impairments and authorizing Tracy French as the provider for these services. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Then we need our first reading of our 2021-2022 policy updates.
And-
Dr. Gillum.
Yeah, this is just the first read of these updates to policy, and there's really nothing much that's substantive in these. Each year, as the legislature passes new laws and, or we have new court cases, in fact, most of these come down as a result of federal court cases, certain rulings, sometimes a few words have to be changed in our policy. We subscribe to the Kentucky School Board Association Policy Service, and their legal branch makes those changes for us and sends those out to us as recommended. Everything you see here is a recommended change from KSBA Legal, and again, nothing really that's substantive there, just a few little language additions or changes.
I did not see anything of any significance.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions?
Again, red is federal and blue is our local making the change on here.
No, everything in there would be,
State.
Well, basically, is it our change or is it state?
these are our policies, so they're our changes. Now, the changes that are recommended were recommended by KSBA as a result of either a federal court case or
Right.
change in state regulation. I
Okay, so
believe
there's
the
not an
red,
indication between the two, because usually it is.
I believe the blue is based off of a federal court case, and I believe the red is going to be,
KRS.
yes,
Okay.
I'd have to look at that, yeah, make sure, but I believe that's correct, yes.
One thing I did notice in graduation requirements, just because I get a lot of questions on these, I know the income, the just freshmen, which was the
Mhm.
class my daughter's in, the 2020, 2021, now has a financial literacy
Mhm.
requirement in graduation. So
Mhm. Yeah.
that's really good news. I don't know that everybody knew that. I get asked about that a lot, so that
Yes.
was good to
And-
see.
yeah, and that was a change in state law through,
Yeah, so that's
through the
great.
state legislature. Mhm.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions? All right. So can we get a motion to approve the first reading of our 2021-2022 policy updates as presented?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, and then next we have Dr. Alicia Hunter is going to talk to us about the purchase order for Curriculum Associates.
This is for our iReady diagnostic that we have been using for several years now. The way this is a little bit different this year is this is for a 3-year agreement that we're going to do with them so that we can get a little bit better deal, and they're giving us a little bit better deal. And it's also not just the diagnostic assessment, the assessment that we take 3 times a year, but we're also purchasing the personalized instruction path that comes after the diagnostic assessment. So this is for our elementary and middle school for 3 years of diagnostic assessment and for the personalized instruction path that comes after that.
That path will be very helpful, won't it?
Oh, it's so helpful. It's so helpful
Getting
because
kids to where they need to be.
everybody's is a little bit different, and it is so helpful.
So the one, every time I go out to schools, I ask, do you like iReady? And every single teacher I ever ask says, but oh, if we could only have this part of it.
That's absolutely right. Because as a district, we've purchased that diagnostic assessment, but we've left it to the schools to decide if they're going to do that part or not. And so this is a huge gift to our schools and to our teachers to go ahead and purchase this and to know that they're going to be getting it for the next 3 years. I mean, they're going to be thrilled, just absolutely thrilled to go ahead and know this and to have this.
And like I said before, it will be very helpful in closing our gap that the past year has.
Yeah, absolutely,
delivered to
because
us.
that personalized instruction part, I mean, it truly is, because it takes that adaptive diagnostic, and then it sets that path for each student.
It's the perfect thing to use our CARES funding for.
Absolutely.
It's a
Yep.
perfect fit.
They're set aside for students and for identifying those gaps, and that's exactly what this is designed to do.
So I'll just reiterate, this is a 3 years, and we are using the ESSER funds, which are our federal dollars from the CARES Act, to pay for it. So, do you have any other questions? All right, so I need a motion to approve the purchase order to Curriculum Associates for the purchase of iReady in the amount of $845,565.09.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Brock, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, Mrs. Center. All right, and next we have to approve our school fees. Mr. Woods, do we need a chair again?
I hope not. Good evening. All right, so what you have before you are the school fees. Each year, I send out a copy of the previous fees that the school has submitted to the board for approval. There are no changes. No one requested changes, but we're required to bring it to you to make sure that you're aware of what school fees are being charged, and should there be any new ones, then they're presented for approval at that point. There are no changes from the last fees that the schools had.
Do we have any questions on the school fees? No questions? Same as they were? Okay. All right, so I need a motion to approve our school fees as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second? Second. And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. And then next we have Mr. Woods for our Section 125 plan.
All right, this is, we're requesting approval of our Section 125 plan. American Fidelity administers this on our behalf. They come in, they meet with every one of our, all of our employees, and we met with them about 2 weeks ago. They had managed, even through all this COVID and everything else, they reached a little over 96 to 97% at the time we met. They had some meetings scheduled up to do some virtual meetings and talk over the phone. Like I said, they meet with everybody. They go over what offerings there are in our plan. They go over anything they might want, any of their needs. They look at what they have and make sure that they're in compliance. They do a really good review to make sure that we stay in compliance with our plan and we can continue to offer different types of benefits to our employees that they can purchase out of their, this is all, everything they are purchasing, and gives us the ability to have pre-tax purchases as well.
So basically, for those who may not know, the section, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Section 125 is basically an employee benefit plan for all of our employees, giving them access to certain benefits that they can payroll deduct to pay
Yes,
for.
supplemental benefits that they can choose, life insurance, accident insurance, things of that nature, cancer policies.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions?
And this is at no cost to the district as well.
We're just agreeing to do the payroll.
We are agreed, well, on this part, actually, the administration of our 125, American Fidelity does not charge us either.
Yeah.
They do this free of service, or free of charge for their service, so we're approving them to maintain compliance on that for us.
Okay. No questions? All right, if we don't have any questions, then I need a motion to approve the Madison County Board of Education Section 125 plan with American Fidelity, and authorize Mr. Woods to electronically sign the plan documents on behalf of the district.
So move.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Burford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. And then next is Mr. Woods to set our pay date schedule for the upcoming year.
All right, each year we have to bring to the board and get your approval for our pay dates. You have the list before you there. I will note that there are 6 pays on this that are not on the 1st or the 16th, which we normally pay on. Those are due to weekends or holidays. So of the 6, 2 of them we actually pay early. So that works out really well. The other 4, the 1st or the 16th either falls on a weekend or a holiday, and due to banking ACH rules, those files are not processed on weekends or holidays, so we do not have a choice in that. We have to go through every year and pull the banking holidays to find out what they are to make sure that our payrolls don't fall on those. The 2 there, the biggest 2, are January 3rd and January the 18th. Both of those involve holidays and weekends.
All right, do we have any questions on our pay date schedule? No? All right. So I need a motion to set our pay date schedule as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And Mr. Woods again for our salary, to approve our salary schedule.
All right, what we have before you is a proposal for the salary schedule, and it is an increase. We did a little bit of review on this and went back. You all are very aware of what's being talked about in the open market and things of that nature, of potential increases to minimum wage, things of that nature. So we went back and we started look at what's being paid in the market. So we set a target rate of $11 on our classified staff. We did start out with $1 raise for $1 per hour. That's everybody. So we broke everything down by an hour instead of a percentage. Over time when you do percentages, the lower end of those, they don't gain as fast, so you get a gap in there. So occasionally you got to do a little bit of market correction. You got to look at what's out there. We set a target floor rate for our lower end pay of $11. We felt that was very comparable with the market, especially with the benefits and things that we offer, the flexible schedules. We felt that was very fair. In that, we had a few, in order to get to that $11, we had a few of those on that lower end that we actually had to raise just a little bit more than $1 an hour. And also to keep our steps in there fairly even the way we normally do, we had to increase some a little more than $1 as well in there. Those fell between the $14 and $11 range. So we just kind of evened that out. And again, everybody's getting the $1 per hour across the board. I think it really puts us in a really good place with our employees as far as making a market correction and getting us back into the market, looking at what things are going to be paying, and also sets us in a really good spot down the road if they do change the federal minimum wage and bump it up to 15, like there's a whole lot of talk about. It gets us in a good spot moving forward, that we don't have to try and make a huge jump in 1 year. All of this is possible because of ESSER funding that we've received. So, when we did the budget last time, we talked about that, and the ESSER funding wasn't in there because we were at that point doing our applications and getting KD approval on those. So there will be funding that helps to offset some of this.
What questions do we have?
You may want to refer to the certified schedule as well.
Yes. So on the certified schedule, we did look at that and figure out what $1 per hour would be, and it is a flat amount, a $1,500 flat amount that we set in there, so that we did bump those as well. We just converted that out by total hours so that it made sense.
Okay. So let me recap for you.
Yes.
All right. So everybody is getting $1 an hour raise across the board, every employee. We are raising everybody up to at least $11 an hour, particularly in the classified area. And those who make a little bit less than $14 an hour are going to get a little bit more, just to try to keep the economies to scale.
Yes.
Okay. Possible by our ESSER funds.
Yes.
All right. I personally think this is a good way for us to lessen that gap that has happened in the past when we pay by percentage.
Yes.
You know, a percentage increase on someone making $9 an hour isn't very much.
No, it is
And
not.
so I think this is a great way for us to help our employees and get them more competitive with what's going on in the market and put them in a better place. personally.
I appreciate how you all actually taken these things in the past couple of years and looked at them, because that takes a lot of time just digging up the numbers.
Yeah.
And to bring that, to make us aware of where we're having those gaps and that bus drivers weren't being paid for their training, because I had no idea that was happening, and I should have. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So this may help Mr. Lakes fill in those gaps.
This may help fill in a few
That is
more
best
gaps,
drive.
yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate all the work too, I'm thrilled to be able to do this for our employees.
Everybody in the room is smiling, so
Yeah.
that's good.
All right, great. And again, made possible by our ESSER funds, so. Anybody have any other questions? No? All right, okay. So I need a motion to approve the salary schedule as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Brock. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Burford. All those in favor? Aye. All right, perfect. Motion carries. And next up, we have our monthly financial reports with Mr. Woods as well.
All right, we will start with the bank reconciliation. As of May 31st, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $84,762,079.18. Same thing, we're up quite a bit comparative to last year, but, you know, we do have two big construction projects going on that we have sold the bonds on those. We hold that money until it's spent out. We talked about food service. You all approved tonight for them to make some equipment purchases, so we have the money sitting in the account for that. So all of that accounts for where we're at right now and the reason that we're up. Of the reconciled balance, the district has $5,740,990.65 in investments. That's unchanged. The market's really low, and there's really no reason to invest it in something that's going to tie us up for 3, 6, 9, 12 months with as low as it is. So we're just taking our overnight sweep earnings that we're getting, and we're relying on that, and it keeps us very liquid right now. So we can meet all of our cash needs, especially right now. We're going into the summer months where we have several payrolls to finalize, so that we need cash flow right now more than most times, and we have no tax collections because we've pretty well collected for the year. So until we get back around August, when we start rolling in a few more funds, it's a good time just to hold cash. Also in your packet, you had a balance sheet and a revenue expense report. I've reviewed the revenue and expense report, made sure that we're on target there, and everything seems to be hitting as we expected.
All right, anybody have any questions for Mr. Woods on our financials? Fabulous job as usual.
Thank you.
All right. So I need a motion to approve our monthly financial reports as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next we have Dr. Gillum with our superintendent's report.
All right, well, thank you. So since our last regular meeting, we have finished the school year up, and we had, excuse me, and we had our graduations. And first thing I want to say is those were a huge success. Yeah, just so proud of both of our high schools for the work that they did there. I want to make sure I thank the staff at both Madison Southern and Madison Central, specifically our custodians, our principals, and our senior advisors for making that such a memorable occasion for our graduates. I also appreciate the work of our district maintenance crew as they work to take care of a lot of things behind the scenes. You saw stages set up, different things around the grounds that were set up, and our maintenance crew did a lot of those things. I also want to say thank you to the class of 2021. their families, and also their friends for their patience and grace throughout this entire process of the school year. So just a wonderful end, and I think it was just very fitting and very honoring to those 2021 graduates. And so as I said, we finished up the school year, and now summer school is in full swing. We have about 1,500 students participating every day in our summer school program, which is about a little over 3 times what we typically have. So we put the charge to our schools to put together what I term as a very robust summer school program, and our principals and our teachers rose to the challenge, and they're doing a great job. And of course, we're providing meals to everyone all summer long. Mr. Lakes was in. He just told you about transportation, about the buses going out and picking those kids up. Our folks are making it happen, and we're very busy right now across the district providing those services to kids. So we appreciate, again, all the work that our teachers and principals have done putting that plan together. I also want to say congratulations to a couple of folks. First of all, Starla Brown. She's our new Director of Categorical Programs. Ms. Brown spent the last 8 years as principal at Kirksville Elementary, and before that she was a reading interventionist in the district. Ms. Brown took the position following the retirement of Carla Willis, who'd served in that capacity for several years. And we certainly appreciate all the work that Mrs. Willis did for the children of Madison County throughout her tenure, and we want to wish her the best during her retirement. We also want to say congratulations to Ms. Glenna Carter, who will be serving now as our Director of Teaching and Learning. If you remember, that was a position that we've created to address these learning gaps through the ESSER piece and make sure that all of our intervention pieces work correctly. She'll be working directly under Dr. Hunter. But Mrs. Carter's been the principal at Shannon Johnson Elementary for the past 6 years. And prior to that, she was an assistant principal at Ferristown, and she's also been a teacher at Calder Middle and Clark Morris. She was also a high school teacher for a few years. So Mrs. Carter's experience across all the levels will really, uniquely positions her for that, for her duties as the Director of Teaching and Learning. In other items, we've almost wrapped up our spring sports season, and I want to congratulate all of our teams for making it through the season with very few disruptions. It's been a challenge just getting in a season with all of the COVID restrictions and everything else. They've done a great job with that. And special recognition to Madison Central baseball team for their regional runner-up in the tournament there. And we also want to congratulate the Madison Southern and Madison Central track teams on their performance at the region. And they're going to have several athletes performing at the participating in state competition this weekend. So we wish them the best. Also, I want to congratulate Ty Shadd. He's a 2016 graduate of Madison Southern High School. He won an Emmy Award Tuesday night. So that's pretty big news. And his award was for outstanding writing in a sports production. And Ty wrote a script called The Lumberman Quarterback while working for NFL Films. So congratulations to Ty. It's always great to see one of our graduates getting national recognition. And the last thing I want to mention, and I think Ms. Cobb here has a certificate she's going to present. This one at the Kentucky Organization of Superintendents, the Kentucky Organization of Superintendents Administrative Assistants Conference, also known as COSA, in May. Our administrative assistant to the superintendent, Ms. Jeannie Caldwell, completed level 7 of the organization's 10-tiered training curriculum. Now, typically we would do this during the recognition portion of a program, but I also wanted to surprise Jeannie with this because she would have fussed at us if we tried to put it on there. So we had to hide it down here in the superintendent's report, okay? But reaching level 7 includes the completion of 75 training hours, 16 general credits, and 2 required credits. Training topics such as communications, information, confidentiality, the Kentucky open meetings and open records laws and record management. Mrs. Caldwell, she's already kind of going off stage, but I want to make sure that everybody hears this. She's on the program planning committee. She's on the nominating committee for that organization. She's the chair of the Professional Assistance Academy, Professional Assistance Academy Restructuring Committee. She's been on the COSA Board of Directors, and she served as the COSA president in 2019. And she's currently mentoring the administrative assistant to the superintendent over in Estill County. So since restructuring of the program there with COSA, only 2 members have reached level 10. Mrs. Caldwell is only one of 4 members to reach level 7 this year. So congratulations to her and everything she does for us.
She is a big deal.
I know our board really appreciates everything you do, Jeannie. And that's my superintendent report.
She is a big deal. And you pulling that off without her knowing is an even bigger deal.
Well, the superintendent report is the one part of the program that she doesn't, she doesn't see. Okay, so that's the one place we can put it in there.
Yeah, but all kidding aside, what she does for us, and particularly who sits in this chair seat, is phenomenal. Thank you. All right. Anybody have anything they want to say? No?
I'll just bounce on that. We couldn't do what we do as a board without Jeannie Caldwell.
Yes.
She organizes us. She makes all the arrangements. The amount of communication that she does for us is just, it's huge. But in addition to that, she does it meticulously and thoroughly, and she's just the best, and we appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
She does do everything
Everything.
precisely, make sure it's perfect.
Anybody else?
We'll trip her up somewhere.
She keeps up for all of our hours for us, too, to
Everything.
make sure that we're fully educated every year with all of our training and, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank
We're all very appreciative.
She makes sure that I'm here. If I ain't here by 22, she's texting me. And sometimes I'm sitting here and I get the text, and I'm like,
Okay. All right, I do want to make mention, particularly for those of you that are watching and listening from home, we are in the process of naming our career centers that are under construction in Berea and Richmond. Tony made mention of that naming process in our May meeting. We held a public work session back on June the 3rd where we began discussing those names. We are going to make a decision on what we are going to name these new buildings at our July meeting. So I would invite anyone in the public who would like to make a recommendation or a suggestion for the naming of those facilities to please let us know. So, okay. Anybody else have anything? All right. Okay, so I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.